What is good, everyone? Welcome to the channel. My name is Paul and I make videos about Japanese society, life, and culture from the viewpoint of a long-term foreign resident. Last year on May 10th, I dropped a video where I talked about my prediction about Japanese society and mask wearing once the pandemic was essentially come to an end. After that, in the summer of 2022, the Japanese government changed its guidelines and said very specifically you do not have to wear a mask if you are outdoors, especially in the summer heat, as it could lead to overheating, heat stroke, that kind of thing. Most people didn't listen and kept their masks on. Now, last Monday, March 13th, the Japanese government has ended its recommendations for masking indoors and on public transportation. So you do not technically have to wear a mask in malls or on the train or businesses unless the business specifies that you want you to continue wearing a mask by request or mandate, I guess, depending on the business. And of course, places like clinics and hospitals will continue to ask you to be masked, but the government recommendation is over. It's finished. But I chose today a pretty busy area to film because I feel like the footage of the people walking around me today is going to be proof enough that masking, like my prediction back in May, has not come to an end. So today I'm going to talk about 3 contributing factors as to why this is the case, and then give you the main reason why everyone is still continuing to wear masks in Japan, as well as at the end of the video my prediction for where I think this is all going in the near and far future in terms of mask wearing in Japan. Before I do that, though, I need to say very quickly that episode 6 of the Journal of Japan Journeys podcast has dropped on all of the major podcast platforms. Basically, that podcast is just me interviewing other long-term foreign residents of Japan about why they came to Japan and why they ended up living here for so many years. Episode 6 actually has a gentleman from Hong Kong who took the extra step of becoming a Japanese citizen, meaning that he gave up his Chinese and British passports in order to be Japanese. So if that sounds of interest, the how and why he did that, then check out the Journal of Japan Journeys podcast at whatever platform of podcasts you like best. Okay. The first contributing factor I need to talk about when it comes to why so many people are still wearing masks is, to be fair, it is spring now, and we are in the Kafunsho, or the allergy season, when all of the cedar trees in Japan, as well as other pollen-producing plants, are doing their thing, and therefore people wear masks for that purpose. This was true before the pandemic. And you'd usually see about 30% of the populace at this time of year wearing masks for that reason. And you can get into arguments about the efficacy of masks when it comes to viruses or not. But the truth is, they actually do help block things like pollen and dust, and therefore do help relieve the suffering of allergy sufferers. So that doesn't explain the almost 70% of other people who still have masks on their face. So what are other contributing factors? Well, one is simply habit. People are just in the habit of wearing masks. You see, it was pretty normal before the pandemic for people to wear masks if they were feeling like they were catching a cold, or again, allergies, or they felt they were getting sick, or some women just didn't put on makeup that day, so they'd wear a mask instead. I'm not lying, some of my students would tell me that back in the day. But it's just become habit for even more people now. And because that precedent already existed in Japan, it wasn't strange to see people wearing masks and having people wear masks, unlike the US and Europe, where it seemed like everyone was just counting the days to when they could just throw away the mask as quickly as possible. In Japan, because it's so normalized already, that really wasn't an issue, and it just became normalized for more people. The final contributing factor I'm going to talk about before I get to the main reason is anonymity. There is a certain amount of desire in especially large cities like Tokyo and Yokohama to remain somewhat anonymous when you have just the crush of population here. You're always surrounded by people on the trains and the shopping malls, everywhere else, and to put a kind of extra barrier between yourself and the rest of the world and remain remain rather anonymous, a mask is actually a great way to do that. You put a mask on and you have that extra layer that kind of cuts you off from having to deal with unwanted interpersonal interactions, for example. So that's the third contributing factor. So what then is the main factor? Put simply, everyone else is doing it. Peer pressure. In Japan, it's very, very strong. Groupthink is very, very strong. You don't want to stand out. You don't want to appear to be causing trouble to others, so you go with what the rest of the crowd is doing. And recently, news programs have been doing interviews of citizens on the street, asking them, are you going to continue to wear a mask after the government drops the regulations? And the majority of the people say, yes, they're going to continue. As you've probably seen, right? But the reasons they gave, not many people, in fact, I can remember one person mentioning COVID-19, Corona, as the reason why they were going to continue being masked. Now, if it was about COVID-19, you would think that that would be what people would say. They'd say, oh, I'm still worried about catching the virus, or I'm worried that I might give the virus to other people. But that wasn't what people were citing as the reasons for continuing to wear masks. They were literally saying, I would feel more comfortable continuing to wear one, or uncomfortable if I didn't wear one. And the reading between the lines there really is, I don't want to stand out. Everyone else is still wearing it, so I'm going to have it on my face as well. And here is my recommendation, honestly. If you are Japanese, or if you're just in Japan, honestly, if you are worried about the virus, or you have allergies, or you have some reason you want to wear the mask, and you feel that it's better that you have a mask, by all means, continue to do so. However, if you are wearing a mask just because you think everyone else feels you should be wearing a mask and you don't want to stand out, then you're not doing what you actually want with your life, and I would recommend that you don't wear a mask. I think it's up to individuals now, and it's not strange at all because the rest of the world is already there. So here finally is my prediction for masking in Japan in the future. I think it's going to continue as it is, as you see around me today, but it's going to be gradually less and less. More and more people are going to get rid of it now that the recommendations are gone. And I think once summer hits, a lot more will drop the mask. And it's going to be a snowball effect. When more people see more people not masking, it'll become more and more normal feeling to not have a mask on. And therefore people will start dropping the masks themselves, and that will just snowball until we'll probably get back to the point where it was before the pandemic, with a number of people masking on the streets. So let me know what you think. Agree? Disagree with the prediction? Feel that I'm on the right track or not? And if you have any other ideas about why Japan has remained masked while the rest of the world hasn't, I'd be happy to hear them. But at any rate, thank you very much for watching this particular video, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.
何しとったの？まあブラブラ